What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the new year, the first episode of 2024 with the Tuesday Track Talk podcast episode, number 15, featuring your Three Stones pit crew. I am your gas man, Cameron,
I'm your Jackman Kellen.
And I'm your tire changer, Cam.
and we've got another jam-packed episode. So, as you guys know, this pit crew, we've just been as pit crews do, pump out pit stops. We've just been pumping out content since we started this thing. So to start the new year, for all you that listen, I don't think that you guys really even know who we are, our backgrounds, and how we got into racing and how we got to where we are. So to start this new year out, we're gonna fire up an episode, and each one of the pit crew members is gonna give a little timeline and background on themselves, how they got into racing, some of their favorites growing up, and ultimately how we got to where we are, and just some dumb race loving dudes. So yeah, and then we'll also touch on a little bit of Chili Bowl preview. That's right around the corner, and that's looking to be another stacked week of racing. So um yeah, since we reconvened, how's the pit crew been?
Good. Just recovering from what's been the craziness of Christmas. Well, staying up too late and eating too much is what it comes down to.
Yeah, there was a little bit of staying up late for myself. I got stuck with the air mattress too, so I didn't sleep all too well either. So,
Yeah.
but
No.
dad was home for the weekend, so I was okay with giving up the bed for him to be home. So,
Yeah, and I think we can all attest to that. But I will say sometimes though, when you eat yourself so full that like you can't eat anymore, but then when sometimes when you catch that second wind, it's almost better going back the second time. That's that's when things get going. That's when things get really good. When you get that second wind and you're like, all right, let's go back again for round two. And it's a whole new ball game.
what'd you go back for? Like, what was the first thing on the plate you had to get?
I mean, so at one Christmas, one grandparents, she had just barbecue and a bunch of snacks, chips, hot ham, and one thing that I was doing that was I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but like that nacho queso.
Yeah,
I was throwing that on my barbecue, and that is gives it a little bit of zing.
sure.
So I was
Huh.
just absolutely hammering barbecues at my one grandparents' house. So that was good. And then at my other grandma, she made what was that, Ken? Was that like a beef roast?
I think it was
Um,
just like yeah, like sliced beef roast.
and that was I had it hot and it was almost like a little bit dried out, like kind of hard going down the old windpipe. Um, but then I waited for a little while and I swear like it sat in like the juice. She had it just on like a big plate and I swear it sat in the juice for a while and it was nice and sliced up. And I went back a second time. That got better a second time. So those are my two main courses and that was what I was hammering. So,
One of them that I always get, it's always got to be the Christmas cookies.
oh yeah.
My body does not like me right now because I've been hammering out Christmas cookies for like the past week. I got this plate of snickerdoodles from work, and I damn near had that plate gone by the time I left the office that day. I mean, it had to have been a dozen cookies, baker's dozens cookies on there, and it was almost gone. Another thing that I had is at my dad's side of the family, and then my grandparents on my mom's side as well. Chili. We did chili for both dinners. But I'm also one of those guys, and I don't know if this is, taboo or anything like that, but I gotta have spaghetti noodles with my chili as well.
It elbow macaroni is what we do.
Yep. So it's just chili. I don't need any whipped cream or anything like that. Just give me the chili and the noodles, and I'm set.
Yep.
But there was definitely a couple servings of that.
Cal whipped up a batch of chili for the family on what day was that Saturday afternoon?
Friday or
Or
Saturday.
whatever day of the break that was. But yeah, Kellen whipped up some chili. That was good too.
You put
Yeah.
beans in your chili?
Nope.
Nope. See,
Mm-mm.
that's like one of them had beans, the other one didn't. So
one thing that I will say I hammered way too many of that our mom made. She made these peanut butter cookies with the little chocolate. It wasn't a kiss in the middle, but it
Oh
was
yeah.
like just Hershey chocolate thing.
Yep.
But it was a peanut butter and chocolate, and those things were just incredible. So
Yep.
yeah, needless to say, if you're looking to start a New Year's resolution after putting together those all that eating, this would be a great time to get outside and get some exercise or start the new year off and try
But
to
hey,
shed some of those pounds that you just put on.
it's the
At least
holidays as
that's gonna be
well.
one of my goals. So
Yeah. It's the holidays. Who cares? Just eat whatever the hell you want.
let's get
Yep.
back to not being so bloated and walking around bloated forever. Well, anyways, anything else new, or you guys want to jump right in?
Oh, I think I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Racing scene's been pretty quiet. It's kind of like you were saying, building up to the Chili Bowl. So
Well, if we ain't got anything else new, let's jump right in. And as I mentioned on the intro to this episode, we just thought starting off the new year 2024. Again, pit crew, we just jumped right into this thing, and we love racing. And we said, hey, let's just start. Had this idea. Let's get a podcast going, YouTube channel. Let's start putting our heads together and all the content we had. And we never really put out an episode to introduce who we are, where we came from, what got us started into racing, what keeps us going, and what do we love following. So to start the new year off, we thought it would be a fantastic idea to, I guess, just take a step back, share a little bit more about us as racing season's a little bit in a lull. Share a little bit about us personally, get to know us on a little bit on a personal level, and talk about, just kind of how we grew up, some of our favorite tracks, drivers, and everything in between, and also to how we got to where we are right now, just feeding for racing. So without further ado, I think our Jack man, he's gonna go first.
Yep.
And as he always does, he's always got the PowerPoint. He's always got the research project prepared.
Yep.
Um,
Well, it wasn't really a research project when you just scratch your head going, "What? Where did I go? What have I seen?"
yep,
but
All right.
yeah,
you're researching yourself.
Yeah.
Our Jack man Kellen, he's gonna go first. And he's teasing us a little bit before we recorded this episode with some of the hero cards he's got. So for those of you that are listening and can't quite see um the PowerPoint, if you get a chance, get on YouTube, check out the Jackman's PowerPoint because he's always good. And of course, he's got the wild theme to it. Um,
No, that's kind of a good point. So, Cam, you kind of mentioned it. I think we started this whole deal and we finally got this thing on Spotify. Don't forget we're on Spotify.
Yeah,
Make sure to go over. That's for your easiest listening convenience at work, at home, in the car,
church.
walking here, walking there, going here, going there. Put your headphones in, and get a listen over there. So, I think we probably can do a little better job of pushing the Spotify thing because it is a pretty awesome little deal. But um, just don't want to forget that that's over there. That this isn't the only spot you can get this. Now for the visual stuff, you bet. And we'll fill you Spotifyers in as we go on this whole deal. So, but yeah, just kind of a little reminder on the Spotify deal. Well, are we ready?
I'm ready.
let's jump
Okay.
right in.
All right. So here we go. We got about the crew. Kind of just this like 4 or 5 slides, nothing too crazy. So Cam probably sees this picture and goes, wow. Um, so what I guess where did it all start? I mean, at the end of the day, like for us, at least for Cam and I, like we were at a track damn near weekly. Um, and I would say like the two of them that we went to the most were back in the day, it was called Monster Hall. The name changed a few times after that, but Monster Hall and Marshfield Super Speedway, same thing. Little change in the name. We did manage to sneak a one off in there at Cedar Lake at one point. So, um, if we weren't over at Monster Hall for dirt, we were at Marshfield on Saturday nights. It was almost like a weekly tradition. Like we were over there nonstop. So,
And for those that aren't that you're probably going to cover this already, but Monster Hall, that was dirt.
Yep,
Marshfield Super Speedway was asphalt.
yep.
So we were right away, young guns, we were introduced to two different.
Dipping our toes and everything.
Yep.
So yeah, those were kind of the two places. I mean, we lived right between them. So central Wisconsin. Monster Hall is no longer a racetrack. But those are the two places that we primarily went to.
Did they
Um,
officially shut their operation down?
the racetrack,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like an event center now. Like the track is still there, everything is still there, just there's no racing there anymore.
Boys,
So yeah.
boys, anybody want to consider moving back to central Wisconsin?
But the picture here for those that can't see it, it's the old 15. As a little kid, this is such an iconic picture because as a little kid, every heat race, every qualifying session, every feature, we were picking guys to win. And this freaking 15, if you were the first one to pick, you always pick Dean LaPointe. Always. So I just found that picture there. I had to do some hunting to find that, but got my hands on it. But so that's the visual picture there for that. So kind of a list of some of the shows that their drivers that we've seen like coming and going in the weekly. So out at Monster Hall or SK Speedway or whatever it was called. There's actually some iconic names that have kind of come through there. Troy Kuyat was a national champ. Jed Moore always ran him really well there. Chris Ortel, who still does race, he ran out there a lot. Scott Duvall, Kevin Adams are a couple of the names that were on there when you talk about looking at who was winning or running weekly out there. So kind of a cool deal to look back at that and kind of, oh yeah, that's right, he was there too. And kind of remember some of those names. Then you look at Marshfield, Dean LaPointe, Mark Kraus, Rory Melbinger, Mark Eswine, Chad Selk. Those are kind of the names from that era um, that ran or guys that we had seen um, run during that time. So kind of like from that and kind of some other like anomalies in camp. I don't know if you remember this one, but we went out to Marshfield one weekend and they had the asphalt wing sprints. That was a freaking show. So these kind of some of the things that we've seen, like they had a couple wing sprint shows at Monster Hall back in the day we went to. So we kind of saw a little bit of everything up here. As we were kind of getting into it, obviously dirt supers, asphalt supers, dirt mods, and then any of your support classes or weekly classes that ran at those racetracks, street stocks, super stocks, four cylinders, um, any of those that ran with their support divisions as well. And then what keeps me in this whole deal? One, the first one is, and they all kind of build from this is one having a racing knowledge base to understand everything that's going on. Is just to see when you're a little take and you get there, it's just so badass just to be there. You don't know what's going on. It's cool, right? Like you're
It's
just
fast
you're just
cars.
yeah, you're there for the thrill of it. And when you're a little kid, it's like, oh, you were always excited for the wrecks, but now you see it, it's like, it ain't the
Yeah.
same anymore.
Yep.
But being able to understand what's going on, I think, and be able to process it and see what happens in the moment, and then kind of the rest of the bullet points go from there is being able to track stuff when you talk about drivers and teams and chassis and cars and who's driving for who and who's a teammate for whoever and how they work together or how the guys race each other. So being able to just follow everything as it goes. And then kind of last two go hand in hand as one having friends and or us three to go to the track with. So you're not going there flying solo. Just adds another element of camaraderie of just having somebody be there and go and hang out with and um go find a new track to go to or a new series to see or a different area or something you haven't seen or something you love and in doing that. So that's always super cool. And then the last one is just having favorite drivers and series and being able to follow their seasons or careers and just being able to kind of track that as you go. So um yeah, I think that part of it to me is super, super cool, super fun to watch, follow. So kind of just bigger overarching points on that. And then the last one. So this is in my living room. This is I don't know. This started about a year ago. The Dale Senior 124th diecast collectible roll. That's in my apartment. There's 13 cars in there, so I've got 13 124s, all but one of them, the hood and the trunk open. So that's kind of a cool little deal. I don't know why I got that bug, and I got a bunch of those about a year ago. So
Well,
yeah,
um, I think this is an ode to our grandpa,
Yeah.
who passed away, who talk about timeline. I would say he was one of the guys that first scratched the surface of us getting us into racing. Anytime you'd go up there on a Sunday, Saturday, he was watching, chilling in his recliner in his little man cave watching racing. So he was the one that started us. And then unfortunately, when he passed away in June of 2022, um, Grandma, knowing how passionate me and Kellen were about race cars, and he had started a lot of these collections, and I got some down here behind me. Um,
yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately for Grandma, she just did not really see. She didn't unfortunately love these cars as much as we do, and so she
Yeah,
said, these are going to mean a whole lot more to you guys, as passionate as you guys are about racing, than they will to me. And so,
yeah. It was like, well, I
good
think I
way
had,
to keep him around and good.
yeah, one or
Feels like you got a
two.
piece of him with us.
There's like one, I think I had one or two that he had that kind of sprung the collection. So,
He had this. You got the smashed up one
yep.
on the left there. That was one
Yep.
from the collection that I remember.
And then the other one was the Coke, the Coke car right here.
So I want to pose this question just because it got brought up. So my grandpa was talking about that Colt car. Do you
Yep.
guys remember where he ran that?
Oh,
Because I said it was either an all-star race or was that race in Japan.
the Japan car was the AC Delco.
Okay.
It would
So I
have
think it was an all-star race that he ran
it
that
have to be
car.
an all-star race. Yeah, that's where a
Because
lot
he
of these like
was,
anomaly schemes were run.
yeah, yep. He always ran that black good wrench
Yep.
three, or like you got the one right next to it, like the Oreo, like it would
Yep.
throw that in there occasionally, but none of
Yeah.
like the special ones.
Yeah, these for the most part were all pretty much they were all pretty much all-star cars from the middle here from Tasmanian Devil over to AC
AC
Delco,
Delco, yep.
the
Well,
Atlanta 1990.
even that Rainbow Three down at the right too. That was
Yep.
an all-star car.
Yep. Yeah, the Rainbow Three, Wheaties, Coke, Tasmanian Devil, the Silver Good Wrench, the Gold
The
Bass
Bass
Rock.
Pro is always that was always a slick car.
Yep. And
Still
then you
is.
got the Atlanta Olympics, 96 Olympics scheme.
Yep.
So those were kind of yeah, so that's kind of what I got. I got a couple other little like, well, these, I was kind of looking through these and I was teasing you guys with these before we got started, but like, I went through the other day and I found all my hero cards and I got them all like in sheets in a binder. There's an old school Andrew Morrissey, black and silver 39. There's a couple other ones. Eugene Gregorich is in here. For those that still kind of follow the late model scene, here's another classic. Jake,
Jacob Gady. Hell yeah.
national champ. Was that 2 years ago?
Three.
Three, Mark S. Wine. Here's another classic. Still runs. I'm looking for one in particular. I'll find it. Here's another one. Old school Jeff Storm.
I
So there's
can't wait.
one.
Yep.
I got the other one. Yep. So you got both of them in there. Um, where is that goddamn thing? I'll find it here just a second. But this kind of goes along with all of the stuff that I've got hanging on the wall back here. That is the drop set of every week of um the backdrop for the podcast every week. Here's one that I was looking for. Chris Wimmer,
Yep.
old school Chris Wimmer, and then where's the last?
Oh, Tim Schindel.
Yep, I got a Tim Sendle
Yes.
in here. Yep, he's that one. I got that one in here. Yep,
Yes.
yeah, Tim Sendle, and then The last one I
I
found was
heard his name pop up the other day. I forget where I heard it pop up, but it came up somewhere.
Travis Sauter, who is now
Yep.
your chief for um
Somers.
Summer. Yep,
Yep.
Summer. So Nathan Hasla,
Yep.
Brian Reffner. Those are the old ones, and then you look like the rest of them. Pretty current guys. A lot of them I picked up at the National Tour race. Steve Apel, DeAngelis, Fenhouse, Mondyke, um, Island. So those are kind of the ones that I've been keeping that kind of keep tucked away. So that's kind of like the background. I mean, obviously I've got the stuff hanging up here. Davenport, probably one of my favorite guys. Obviously Kraus. That is the backstory in that. That is the Slinger 2021 door, right? Yep.
Yeah.
They've been Slinger 21. Um, when he kind of got in that little bit of that fender bender there.
And I saw that damn wreck pretty much in front of me.
Yep.
I'm still, oh,
Um, so I got that door panel from him, and then by God, so if you look right over my left shoulder right here, there's the shoes that I won through
yep.
college. This signature shoes it was a random draw.
Still can't believe it. I'm more mad about the door than I am the shoes. Just the fact that
Um,
I saw it happen, and then I text you about it. And you're like, I wonder if he's gonna sell that door. What he's gonna do with it. So you text him or DM'd him, whatever you did,
yeah.
to end up with that
Yep.
door.
Nope, for sure. So that was a here's speak of the devil.
Yep.
You got that. That's the last one. I'll show you one more just because it only fits that we're going through it.
Mark
His
Krause.
dad Mark. So
So I don't know if you knew this, but so that the radio guy Jim that we hang out with at the track, he
yep.
used to spot for Mark.
Oh really?
Yeah, he used to spot for him way back when. That's how he got in the whole radio deal was because he spotted for him.
Oh nice. Yeah, got it.
I don't know how they got acquainted with each other, but
Yeah, that's
because
funny.
he told me I forget where the hell he was at. I want to say it was Anderson. It was they were at some race somewhere, and it was one of those like you had to be on the bottom type of places, or otherwise you were
Yeah.
screwed. And Mark ended up on the outside on a restart. Jim, the spotter, told him, "I'll get you down, but when I say down, you get down." And he had about that much of space between the front fender and the rear fender, and then the guy behind him as well. He just vividly remembers this. All you hear him is say down, and he just yanks that wheel.
That's funny. I mean, kind of the other hero cards I got are a lot of from our Cedar Lake trip. They're all current
Yep.
dirt super guys. Madden, Bishop, Bobby Pierce, Hoffman, JD, um, all the current guys. So they're really not technically they wouldn't be an archive like asphalt one. So that was funny to bring that up that a lot of that stuff that I got there is from ASA before it was ARCA.
Yep. Yep.
So
And
old
it's
ASA.
funny, like, when we were kids and like we were getting those autograph cards, like we didn't think anything of it, right? We
No
didn't
shot.
know what the hell we were gonna do with them, if we were
Nope.
gonna put them anywhere, hang them up. We just end up like our parents put, or my grandpa in this case, put them in a binder and like,
Yep.
I remember having these a while ago, and Grandpa's like, "Yep, I got them right over here." And sure enough, here I am flipping through
Yep.
this.
Yeah. So that's kind of my story on racing. And I mean, as kids, as we started got a little bit older, we were getting into sports and doing that stuff. So you didn't have the time in the weekends to do it when you're chasing around playing football on Saturday mornings. It just makes it tough. So now that we're finally settled, we're back. We're back right where we belong. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory.
I got a few follow-up questions I'll pose. Well, I'll pose one right now, and then once I get done, I'll pose it to the whole group. I
Yep.
guess so full circle, obviously kind of where you started, where you're at right now. I guess what are the, top three series you would say you enjoy following the most? As a pit crew, we all kind of talk about, what areas like for sure, we got a good mix of niche followings, I would say.
Mm.
Yeah.
our tire changer, Cam, he's asphalt, super late model racing, anything in the Midwest, there's about a 95% chance he's there. So that's his niche. I
Yep.
really enjoy the dirt super late models. So that's what I really enjoy following. Kellen, I think, provides the most balance. He's all over the place. Dirt, blacktop, he's there. I feel like living in Platteville is kind of in the boonies, but somehow you're always seem to be close to like the big shows and find your way at them or some of them. So you
Yeah.
provide balance. But I guess follow-up question, and we could all touch on this, but I guess would you say are the three series you enjoy following the most right now?
I'm gonna say right
Or
now,
where would you say what's your three? Where are you the three? No, I would say favorite. What do you enjoy following the most, or
I
what do
would
you
say
say you
so.
know the most about whatever one you want to
Yeah,
choose?
I would say like my three would probably be, and I'm gonna say in no particular order. I'm gonna go dirt supers, asphalt supers, and then third one, I don't know, probably something in NASCAR. But I would say like for me being down here, I probably have when I say follow something, it's gonna be virtually it's gonna be I'm gonna follow a lot of the dirt super late models, probably Lucas Oil just because we get that with flow. But then when you talk about racing in person, it's going to be ASA Midwest Tour just because they go to the Dells, they go to Madison twice, they go to Hawkeye Downs. Those are all within 2 hours of me.
Yeah.
So those are trips that I'll make. So when you talk about following a series that way, I
You
would say
could
the Midwest Tour.
you could probably throw lacrosse in there too.
Lacrosse, yep, lacrosse is 2 hours. Jefferson's an hour and 40 minutes up the
Yep.
road. Like when we're starting to map out our schedules for the year, I'm like looking at them like, man,
You
Christ,
could hit almost the entire
I'll be a Midwest Tour regular. I mean, really, the only one that's a huge trip would be Grundy and State Park. Those would be my
Kakana
Kokana, yeah, that'd be
and Slinger.
Slinger, yeah.
Yep.
Which so I mean, 50% of the schedule is down here in my neighborhood. So when you talk about following a schedule or a series, I'd probably say Lucas Oil Dirt Supers with Flow, and then in person is going to be a Midwest Tour just because I'm going to follow. I'll be there at the track this summer. So those would be my series.
So you were talking about like kind of putting together a schedule of like races that we were possibly going to. I
Yep.
put mine together, and I also got like my schedule on my phone with everything that I want to try and do.
Yep.
Obviously, there were a lot of races that overlapped each other, so I'm going to miss out on some. But out of the schedule that I have, tentatively, I'm hoping to hit 49 events this year or race days this
Yeah.
year.
Oh, really?
That's how
Oh,
much I got on there. Yeah.
let me see. How do you zoom out on this Google Excel sheet?
Should be able to just hit, I think it's control, or maybe not. It's a good
Guide me.
question.
I want to zoom out
No,
because
three dots on the top right of the screen, right next to your.
oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Here, we'll just do this. Just real quick.
I think I know where you're getting at here.
So, yep. Yep. So kind of looking at this, like we've kind of divvied up our summers a little bit to like we had a bunch of them that we were looking to hit, and we're like, man, we're looking at this, we like got them in there single file, like, well, I'm going to this one, but I might go to this one. Like, there's too much going on for my brain to like decipher it. I'm like, I just had to make my own schedule. So, um, here's what the tentative schedule looks like for. I'll scroll over to the Van Grill here in a second. Mine's a little bit smaller. I mean, Dells, Madison, Hawkeye, Cedar Lake, Slinger, Dells, Madison, Davenport, Dells, Jefferson, Madison, Dells. Um, so we're gonna pretty much have that drive down. That will, if you fall asleep, I'll still make it back because I'll have done it a million times. Um, yeah. So, but if you look at it, like one, two, three, four, five. I got six of the Midwest Tour, 6 of the 11 Midwest Tour races on there. So, and then we'll go over here. Van Grohl, this is your
Possible. There's some extra dates in
yeah,
there, and some of them that would be stretches, but
yeah,
boy, would it be a blast.
all potentials that we're kind of looking at that are like, yeah, these are on the board. They're in consideration. So, I mean, obviously the big one was start of the year is the 14th or the 13th of April.
April. Yep.
Icebreaker at the Dells. So Slinger.
And that'll be back weekends between the Live for Five race at the Dells and then Slinger the weekend after.
Mm-hmm.
Boys, that's only 3 months away.
Yep.
January, February, March, and then you're looking at about a weekend in April, and we're back in it.
Yep. So
Froze my
yeah.
cojones off at both of those races last year.
Yeah. So looking at here, you get down to the bottom. This guy's a little more versed in the in-person part when you talk about IndyCar series, potentially a USAC midget, ARCA Menards at Milwaukee Mile, trucks at the mile. Cedar Lake, obviously, we're gonna
Possibly an SRX race in there as well.
SRX race got stuck in there at Cedar Lake. That's another dang it.
Which I gotta add the SRX at Cedar Lake too.
Oh, yeah. This kind of if you're looking for Wisconsin, Illinois, well, Wisconsin races to hit, here you go. It's a good little snapshot. So feel free to take that and do as you please.
Hoping to get to a lot of places this year. So
Yeah, Slinger. I'm excited to get the Slinger for the Nationals. That'll be my first
I
Nationals, first time at Slinger.
you're gonna have a blast. I'm telling you. You're gonna if you want to really enjoy it, you gotta get there early.
Oh, we're gonna be there early and we're doing pit passes.
Giddy up. Because like the other thing too is like that place fills up. Like
Yep.
the parking lot fills up too. So be ready to have a long day, but it's gonna be a blast, especially yeah, if we do the pit passes throughout there.
Yeah, because then we can just walk in and do that whole deal. So
Yep.
that's one I haven't been to yet. That I want to cross that one off my list as well. So um yeah, that's kind of the school. All right, big dog, what do you got?
Suppose I'm next, huh?
Next up, we got our tire changer, and as you can see from his schedule, in the pit crew, if there's a race in Wisconsin, again, we've always mentioned this. There's about a 95% chance that we're gonna have boots on the ground. Um, between I didn't get to nearly as many races as I wanted to last year, but when you talk about at the track and in person, yeah, our tire changer is boots on the ground often, and so there's a good shot as we look really next year, and we're talking about content. I think between the three of us and now being able to get ironed out and get into this thing and kind of schedules, I think we'll be able to put together some pretty cool content between the three of us and the sheer amount of racing and tracks that we'll be at. So, but yeah, let's get into a tire changer. Let's see what keeps you going and at the racetrack every weekend from April to November.
So, so well, first off, I don't have a PowerPoint like Kellen does. I'm just going purely off of speech here and memory on this. So bear with me. But I guess really, first track that I hit, and I guess I'll start with this. I remember as a kid, don't remember. I think I was like 6 or 7, if that. I think all of us had Hot Wheels when we were kids. And that's all it was. It's just the generic Hot Wheels that you got at Shopko, Walmart, Kmart, whatever it was. And I remember playing with that on the floor one time. Grandpa's flipping through channels and he stops on the race just to see what's going on, right? And I'm looking at it and you want to talk about something that clicked. That plug got plugged into the brain in some way, shape, or form. It's like, that's it. That's it right there. So I got hooked right in that instance. Um, my first race was actually in preparation for my first NASCAR race, and that was at Golden Sands in Plover. Went to my first. It was just a weekly show, nothing special. Went to my first race there, and I remember when we were leaving the track, me and Grandpa. I remember looking at him. I said, "I want to do this. Like, I want to go to races." So he was still working in the middle of the time. He had a couple years left before he retired, so it was kind of hit or miss as far as races that we went to. But when he retired, we hit. I mean, we were off like a rocket. It was gone everywhere. So Golden Sands was my first track. I ended up going to Michigan later that year for the NASCAR race. So I had both of those first race experiences under my belt in a year.
Yeah.
Um,
You talk about just diving into it. He goes from a weekly show in the middle of nowhere,
I know.
Wisconsin, to Cup Series. Just like, oh yeah, we're gonna get immersed in the experience. Yeah, let's head to NASCAR.
yep, yep. And that was again, that was back when the old Gen 4, and I mean them suckers were screaming. And at Michigan, them cars were really screaming
Yeah.
going in. So if I remember right, I think Biffle won that first race that I was at, if I remember right. Um, Although it's from there, as we started getting to hit the local short track scene a little bit more, Marshfield definitely made a lot of trips over there. I bet you we were there for a lot of the same races, and obviously never knew about it.
Yep.
Um,
I'm sure.
Wassa was the other one that we hit up pretty often. So it was Thursday I could go to Wassa, Friday was Golden Sands, and Saturday was Marshfield, and that was all within an hour of our front door.
Hmm. Yep.
So I mean, and then we got introduced to Kakana and would go there every once in a while. Then we got introduced to the Dells, and would go there every once in a while. Madison, and just you want to talk about expanding your horizons. I mean, it expanded from there. Um, Show you a little glimpse here of kind of places that I've been. I've marked out on my Google Maps here of every track that I've been to, both local and NASCAR. Oop, try and get this here. So it's the blue dots on here. If I had to guess, there's probably about 20 tracks on there.
Holy. Yep. All over the place.
Yep. So,
That's pretty cool.
um, but yeah, those are kind of the first few tracks I ever went to, and like I said, I mean, I still are a frequent visitor of those tracks as well. When I did get into the racing scene, Jeff Gordon was my NASCAR guy starting out, always has been, always will be. But Wes Kuhn was my first super late model guy.
Oh.
Wes Kuhn. Just so my grandpa, I actually knew his dad because they both worked for the town of Saratoga up by me. So they knew each other through that. And Wes was the race car driver. So I actually went over to shop a couple times just to hang out as he was working on the car. He was the first one. And then he would go on into the ownership side of things and then had see if I can get the names right here. It was Corey Jankowski, uh uh Jim Sauter Jr. and God damn it, he's on the tip of my tongue. It was Frank something. He was always sponsored by Culver's. He was the 99 Super. Who was from Partyville. Frank Cryer.
Frank Cryer.
Frank
Yep.
Cryer. So Wes Kuhn started a trio with those three guys on a team. And that was, like I said, he was the first guy on the super late model scene that I really started to follow. Um, I actually had a buddy at high school as well. He raced a little bit of four cylinders. He'd race super stocks. He actually ran super lates at Marshfield as well. And actually, I'll bring up the photo here, see if you recognize this car. His name was Randall Wilhorn. Where's the photo at? There's the photo. Let me spin the sucker around quick. So I would obviously follow him kind of wherever he ran off to.
Yep.
Recognize that car?
Yeah, sure shit.
Yep. So I went to high school with him. So we'd always, just stop in the pits afterwards, hang out with him, talk
Yep.
about the race. And there was at one point in time at Sands as a four-cylinder driver, he had fast time every single week out at Sands. It would break his own track record.
That's funny.
But
Uh,
now Paulie Schaefer is kind of the favorite driver whenever he's racing, but I could just really enjoy the racing for kind of what it is
yeah.
and not really cheer for a guy. And that kind of goes into like what keeps me interested. Growing up, it was all fast cars. You were just fascinated by that. And as I got older, it's like, okay, now I can kind of understand the racing that's going on and the strategies that are going on. I can kind of keep an eye on that. When I was going to school, I was going to school for engineering, as I say, and Tells you how well I did. But I was looking at like the mechanical side of things and the engineering side of things. Social media was really starting to boom, so you're starting to get to know the drivers personally. Um, and now it's like I'm getting to broaden my horizons too with this dirt racing stuff. And it's like, okay, now I get to experience something new too. I'm almost becoming a fan again in a way,
Yeah, for sure.
and getting to experience all that. So I mean, that's definitely some things that have kept me interested in racing, and I would definitely say I've been pretty fortunate in some of the things that I've been able to do too. You know, you had a little bit of show and tell, and while I was able to be home this week, and I was able to have a little bit of get some stuff together for show and tell. Um, so you brought up the diecast cars, and I got to bring that up on my side as well, just because I know, like I said, we were kind of briefly talking about it. So I may have a problem, but we'll talk about that later. So that is my setup with all my diecast cars.
What was the number again?
292 is what I'm sitting at right now.
Yep, that's
So
crazy.
they're all in drawers. They're in order of when I bought them and or got
Hmm. In boxes, I would assume.
them in boxes. Yep, everything is in boxes.
Original.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. The only three that aren't are sitting above me right now, and they're uh the three like it's the Chevy, the Ford, and the Toyota of the 75th anniversary.
Hmm.
I got those displayed up above me. Those are the only three cars that are not in the box still.
No.
But yeah, otherwise I've been able to collect some pretty good memorabilia over the years. Show you this. Get this pop back up again. I think I should be pretty much good to go. So this is up on top of my grandpa's bookcase that we got. I mean, you got
Oh, dude.
Iowa Speedway, the Cedar Lake koozie,
Yep.
that old Rusty's Last
Rusty.
Call,
Yep.
the 500 Budweiser bottle. So you brought up Jeff Storm earlier,
We're
his autograph
sniffing,
card.
we're sniffing some other stuff there. The 21, I see a GMS box, a
That's a
old
Johnny Sauter car, yep. Or truck, I should say. That's the
Yep.
championship truck from his championship year. So that's some of Grandpa's cars. He's got some of his own. I'll show. Oh, that. So he had a bunch of 164s on there too. Jeff Storm. How about that card?
Oh, dude, that's even further back than the one that's crazy.
So
That
that one.
is awesome.
Let's see what else do we got here. Yeah, here are some other ones that I had. So yeah, there was that Morrissey one. There's that other Stormy one.
Yep.
Bobby Kendall, Brandon Selly, Jeremy Miller. There's that Nathan Hasline one.
Chris Schwenkoff. Yep.
You know, so just some other doozies in there. Here's an old Rich Bickle one.
That's pretty sweet.
Another
Wow.
Rich Bickle one is right here.
Johnny Sauter, Dan Fredrickson. Yep. Pickle.
Yeah, so yeah, Johnny Sauter, a very, very young Carson Quaffle.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah.
What else do I got here? Oh yeah, Mark Martin when he was at Kakana.
Yep.
Then I got a picture with him as well. One of my fondest memories.
Scott Wimmer.
This one's really good too. So State Park Speedway, I think it was a birthday celebration for Father Dale Gruba, and they just had any legend come in, including Bobby Allison. So I mean, they had and Ron Hornaday. So let's
Hey,
see, where's
before you skip off that shout out, wasn't one of those cars in your top 10 paint schemes?
that was one of my top 10 cars.
Yep.
Yep. So Ron Hornaday back in the day.
Holy.
I didn't get a
Wow.
picture with him, but we did get. I
Yeah.
know it's there. It is
Travis.
Bobby Allison.
Yep.
Who's that picture with you? Go back. Or who were you getting an autograph from right above that Bobby Allison?
Right above body. Oh, this one?
Yeah.
So this is another one of the fondest memories. So that's Dick Trickle.
That
Wow.
is
So
that is the guy.
that is the guy. So it's a little story for you. So this guy in the middle, this guy right here, I believe he's Dick Trickle's nephew. He used to work on the engines for Trickle in his late model days. So him and my grandpa are good buddies as well. So there was a couple times where I kind of got booted to the front of the line to meet Trickle. So this was at the Slinger Nationals. He's up here chatting with us, kind of, chatting with him and chatting with me. They're waiting to do pre-race ceremonies for the Slinger Nationals because they can't find Trickle. So like so they go over the PA. We start today's festivities, but we can't find our honorary member for today's races.
Oh
And
God.
here he is standing up by us. He goes, "Oh, I suppose I better go back to work."
That's funny. Oh
So
man.
that one was fun. And it's kind of one of those, like, none of us knew what he was going through because then shortly after he was gone, then too.
Yep.
So you just never really knew what you had until it was gone, type of thing. Here's that Derek Kraus one that I was talking about.
Yep. Holy shit. Just a little kid.
Yep. Kenny Wallace, he's on there. Here's I got a picture with him at Iowa, and then he was at Milwaukee for the super late model race when they first started going back there. We went in the pits and had him sign that photo then. So he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember this. This was Iowa. That was a damn good time." There's another Dick Trickle one there for you. And then what else do I want? Dave Marcus.
Yep.
And then I got, oh, so this is a good one too. Those are Dave Marcus's wingtip shoes that he'd wear racing. So we went to the Hall of Fame, the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, the inaugural year that was open. He submitted those shoes to him and never heard anything. So when we were there, we saw him. We're like, we wonder. So we took a picture, showed it to him. He's like, "Yep, those are their shoes." So we gave him a photo, and then he signed the other one.
That's pretty cool.
And then Richard Petty back at my first Daytona 500.
Holy shit.
So yeah, it was really cool to go back through all this stuff and kind of relive some of the memories that I had um with the races that I got into. One more good one for you.
Oh, that's when you won the shear.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So no, there's a lot of good memories going back through those, and it just helped me realize why I'm a fan of what we do and why we go to these races, and just try and build on that then too.
It's almost like, honestly, and you probably can attest this to it. It kind of becomes a little bit of an addiction. It's like you get started, and you're
Yep,
like, all right,
absolutely.
what can I add to the collection now? Cars, shirts,
Sure,
hero
we haven't even
cars,
touched on the
whatever.
shirts. Oh,
Yeah, the gear, like anything.
yeah,
It's just like you get the bug, and you're like, all right, what's next?
yeah. I know it kind of turned into a show and tell there a little bit, tangent a little bit, but I mean, it's just a lot of good things I've been able to do, and a lot of things I've been able to see, and just hope to build on it in the future.
I was gonna ask follow-up question. Obviously we mentioned anything in Wisconsin, asphalt super late model, like you're going to be boots on the ground. Obviously, you don't have a collection like that and show up to 3 or 4 races every year.
Yeah,
So, um, obviously that you're going to be there, but I think we got a pretty good guess of what's number one. But same question I asked Kellen. What would you say are what do you enjoy following the most? What are the top 3 series you would say right now?
I'm gonna leave NASCAR off of it just because I feel like that's the whole low hanging fruit. Um, so yes, definitely asphalt super late models. It's not even specific to like the Midwest Tour Tundra late models. It's just asphalt super late models. and especially up here in the Midwest. I feel like that's some of the best damn racing you're going to see anywhere. And you're going to have strong cars showing up week in and week out too for that. So I think that's number one. World of Outlaws, the sprint cars. I feel like that's the one that's really, after watching the Chili Bowl, that was my first real taste of dirt. The Outlaw sprint cars have really got me into it a little bit more. So I feel like you could say that's my first dirt love type of thing.
Oh, interesting. All
And
right.
then the USAC, and then the well, not even just USAC midgets, but just the midgets as a whole too. Like I said, Chili Bowl, big event. Like I said, I think that was the first taste of it, and I think it's just I think they're really cool cars to race. So if there's three of them that I really follow, if I'm keeping NASCAR out of that realm, I think it's those three.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Surprised with the wing sprints.
I like the late models, but like I said, the wing sprints were kind of like, well, and I think Larson's got a big deal to do with that too, with
Yeah.
his crossover into that realm. You could say it's either him and Dirt to cross over to NASCAR or vice versa. I think that's what really helped me get into it. And like I said, that's kind of ended up being my first love with Dirt.
Wow.
I mean
All right.
that, and we kind of talked about that too. I mean, hopefully that continues to happen for dirt racing and asphalt super late model racing is hopefully you get some of these NASCAR guys to do that and help bridge the gap.
Mm-hmm.
Either a NASCAR fan that's strictly NASCAR
Yep.
or a asphalt super late model fan. Hopefully, some of those bigger names that people know, a NASCAR guy is coming here. Hopefully, it helps just continue to bridge the gap and get people put more butts in seats and more eyes on racing on Sundays and all the above. So,
I will say that you two have also really helped me broaden my horizons with the dirt racing, especially like with the late model scene as well. You guys have been kind of, something comes up, you like, you've been keeping an eye on like, hey, so and so's jumping from this chassis, or this engine, or this team, or anything like that. Like you guys have that background where I don't on that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of vice versa with you and the supers or asphalt supers, where you've been around it a lot longer than we have to know some more of that side of things as well. So it fits together really nice, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yep. Got a good triage of guys here.
Yeah.
I think that's enough about us, though. I think we got to get over the gas, man, and see what's got him going. I know he said it last week too that he was kind of a late bloomer as far as the racing scene goes, but I'm sure you've got some good stories as far as how you got into it and what keeps you going as well.
yeah, so I would say for the gas man, for my racing experience, I would say um, it's been probably a gigantic roller coaster for me, and I was in a lull for quite a while. It was going down. Um, but obviously having the old Jackman be my older brother, grew up doing a lot of the similar things. The Monster Hall, the Marshfield, those are the two that I could remember the most distinctly. Um, I can remember distinctly one time we went to uh Monster Hall for a dirt wing sprint race, and it was so dusty, and they were throwing so much dirt in the stands that we literally did not even watch the race. We sat and we put the blanket over our face.
Yep.
Because it was so dusty and they were throwing so much dirt in the stands. We sat so close that we literally didn't even get to watch the race. We sat under the blanket. So that was a good welcome to dirt racing moment for me. But then obviously growing up, we went to Marshfield a fair amount. That for me was, I would say, starting off some of the bigger names, obviously like a Mark Kraus and Dean LaPointe were the two um, bigger names that I can remember. Once in a while, we get a Paul Menard sighting in a super late model at Marshfield. Um, but that's really where it started for me. Grow at track stuff. I would say for NASCAR stuff, it was honestly it was our grandpa. anytime dad would watch it here and there, wasn't really dedicated, but anytime we'd go visit our grandparents on a Sunday afternoon, just ride uptown and go on grandparents. Grandpa would always be sitting in his man cave in his TV by himself, and he's got a race on, and he's just sitting watching racing. And those were the heydays. And obviously, I got this sweatshirt on, um, which is from him. But so he was a huge Earnhardt fan, and as you can see from, I have some collections up here, some Earnhardt die-cast cars up here, and the sweatshirt, and obviously Kellen's collection. So, um, growing up, probably my favorite driver was Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I kind of stuck with it for a while. But I would say it probably started to go south for me. I want to say middle school, where you're just kind of like, I guess for me it was footballs all fall, wrestling all winter. Like I just probably got a little bit lost in what I had going on. And then I would say it was probably late high school and early college. I started dipping my toes back in thanks to Derek Kraus getting back on a national scene and him starting to get into the truck series. And then it's like gets you more involved right away. Um, so then I started watching that. And then I'd say from there, it's just been uphill ever since. Then Kellen started getting more into watching racing. Then we lived together. And then we were watching racing on Sundays together in our apartment. And so then ever since there, we've been on this upward trend of being back into it and watching a lot of racing on Sundays and shit. Now we're playing fantasy together on Sundays.
Yeah.
Christ, don't
So
get me started on that.
that's kind of, I would say where I started getting back into it was really into college. Right away in early college, me and Kellen were living together and we started watching racing together and actually getting into it and obviously having Kraus back in it um, was awesome. And then thankfully Chase introduced us to each other. And
Hmm.
then I start getting my toes back dipped into where I started, Marshwood Super Speedway. Then we go to State Park together, um, and
I
watch.
think that really sparked it, like especially with the three of us going to that race at Wausau.
You
Yeah.
know, we're
Um,
sitting in that. I'll never forget that we're sitting in that top drink chasing. We got a case of beer, and we sit down, and he grabs the first one, and he drops it right through the bleachers, and
yeah.
you just hear it hit the bottom, and you're like, we lost one.
Um,
Oh,
yeah, that was awesome experience. And that was my first asphalt super late model race I've been to in quite some time. So right away, again, once you go to a track, it's like that for, some people. It's like you do something in your life and you're like, yep, that's what I was supposed to do.
Yep.
And for like us, it was like you go to the racetrack and you're like, yep, this is where I'm supposed to be. So again, that was again an awesome experience for me. And I think ever since then, I've just continued to get more and more into it. And I would say, just to reiterate, what keeps me interested or what keeps me going. One is the more you understand it and the more people like names, and the more you dive into it, obviously, the more invested I've just become. You know, you just get to know drivers more, you get to follow their stories. You almost feel like you're a part, with social media, you almost feel like you're a part of the team as much as some of these guys post. You get to see them working on the shops, stuff like that. And I would say for the dirt side, what really kicked things off for me was when I came home for college break, and I have no idea how me and my dad ever ended up on it, is we ended up on the Hunt the Front YouTube channel.
yep.
And they were in the beginning phases of a YouTube channel
They
running
just hit they just hit their
literally.
5 year anniversary. So you talk about finding them then. That was like us right now, where we're at with our
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. So me and my dad literally scrolled across this dirt YouTube channel over winter break one time, and we started watching it. And I won't forget dad shout out to him when he said this. He's like, Hunt the Front was just they were just getting their operation going, so they weren't running very well. And so Dad just goes, "Yep, we gotta see if we get last place again tonight." He would like text us and or text me and because we had watched and they would never run well, but it was just like for us, like it was just super interesting for me and my dad. Like we had no idea what all goes into dirt racing. And you start watching like the grinding of the tires and all the we're changing tires all the time and they're showing pounding the shit out of sheet metal and then they're changing this, changing that. Like we had no idea what all goes on. And then like you start understanding it's like, wow, this is interesting. So that kind of started the dirt scene for me. But again, I think like watching those videos, like again, the more you know and understand drivers and then also tracks and setups and stuff like that, just the more invested you become. And so that's one thing that I would say keeps going for me. Obviously, at this point in my life, when another thing, being able to have for my first full-time job can now finally financially like I don't have to rely on mom and dad. Hey, mom and dad, can I go to the races this weekend? Got my own job. I
Yeah.
can now afford to go to the racetrack on my own, do the things that I want to do and be more involved. So that's kind of one perk. Um, one thing I think will tickle you guys pink, that I would say, and we can just crack ourselves up laughing, is not only the camaraderie at the racetrack that is awesome for like racing experience, but also the away from the track stuff. And I think we can talk about the drive back from Cedar Lake this
Oh
year. Like,
my God. And we can even get Chase involved on this one too. It's just,
I mean, like
oh,
the memories we make
Oh
that were
my God.
like that
Cam,
aren't even
it's
at the
dead
racetrack.
silent. It's dead silent in the car on the way home. Dear,
dear.
what, where?
Our tire changer Van Grohl was driving, and I was just sitting in the back, and I'm like, "There's a deer standing on the fog line." I'm like, "Are we gonna slow down?" And I wait till we're about 10 yards from it. I'm like, "Bro, deer." Oh, he just taps the brakes, keeps going. It's like, oh
Or
my
that
God.
roadkill that I killed for the second time.
Yeah. Um, so I would say, I mean, honestly, like as we've gotten to know each other and then like Chase and the four of us and being able to just go to the track together, not only the camaraderie at the track is fun being there together, um, and just doing what we love, but also, I mean, that was we
Oh,
could not stop laughing for an hour and 20 minutes
You
on the
had,
drive home
you
both
had,
nights.
I was crying.
you
I was
had
crying.
that, and then you had Stinky.
And then Chase goes with us on Saturday night and just kept crapping his pants and would not say anything. And we were just smelling
All of a sudden,
scum
you're
the
just
whole
like,
ride
oh
home.
my God.
Uh,
So I would say that's another thing that like is
oh,
just fun that keeps you interested in racing is like not only when you go to the track, but like that's a
the
memory
journey
we'll
to and from.
yeah, we'll have that memory forever. Hour and 20-minute drive back that we had those two nights was just a ton of fun. That we were laughing for an hour and 20 minutes straight nonstop.
Oh my
Made it
God.
home safely, but
Oh,
yeah. And then I would say the other thing is, I guess what keeps me interested now is like, which I really do appreciate is how much and the ability you have, how much the ability to watch as much racing as you want. Like now, like with flow racing and dirt vision and things like that, like you have racing at the tips of your fingers or the swipe of your credit card. Um,
That's dope.
like as much racing as you want to watch, you can get it. Um, so just being able to watch so many different series and so many different events has been able, I guess it just you just keep learning more and more. You learn new drivers, you learn different stories, and you become a fan of this guy, and then you start following him in this series, and then you watch a different series and you hear this guy's story, and it's like, well, I'm a fan of him now. And so then all of a sudden it's like, now I want to watch 10 different races during the week of 10 different series because I'm a fan of, this guy and this, that, and the other thing. And all of a sudden it's like, here you sit, you can watch racing 7 days a week. So, um, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Um, and obviously, I think the biggest thing for me is, like I mentioned, now the Cedar Lake race this past year was an eye-opening experience. And now for me, one of the things I want to do more in 2024 is just be able to get to some of the asphalt super late model races and then keep mixing in some of the dirt races around here, Deer Creek, Mississippi Thunder, the Cedar Lake. Um, just keep growing expanding my horizon for the in-person stuff. Like I said, now that I have a job and I can afford some of those things, just being more at the racetrack. And then I would say another thing, what keeps me going or interested is the damn podcast.
Well,
We don't have a choice but to be interested in racing if we're going to get on and talk about it every week.
Um,
Um, we've got no choice but to be but to love racing and stay involved. And like I said, it's just gonna this sport's gonna keep growing in all different facets. Like I said, we're playing fantasy against each other in NASCAR. And shit, boys, we're about a month and a half away from being back in that um 36-week grind of fantasy for NASCAR. So we're not far away from that. So no, we just as racing just keeps evolving and the social media and being able to watch racing, I just continue to grow with it and embrace the change. And one thing that was awesome for me is I got to go to the Chicago street race. Me and my girlfriend Carolyn went to that this year and didn't actually get to watch the race because of the weather and the rain, but was able to go down there, watch most of the Xfinity race, see the cars up close and in person, hear them smashing on the loud pedal in the streets of Chicago and just
yep.
echoing between the buildings. It was be able to get pictures with the NASCAR guys and get signatures and whatever. It's just like those are icons to you that you see and you like look at every Sunday and you're like, those guys are awesome. And so yeah, it was just an awesome experience for me. And again, I think some of these experiences just continue to relight the fire inside you or your passion for it. You go to a different track and you get a new experience and you're like, this is why I do what I do.
Mhm.
Just relights the fire in you and keeps you going. So, and then well, the last question I asked you guys, if I had to say the three series I probably um, follow the most or enjoy the most, I would say is obviously NASCAR. I'll just take the low hanging fruit. I obviously enjoy NASCAR series. Um, I've really embraced the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series and all that they're doing. And then for number three, honestly, one of the series I enjoyed a lot this past year was the High Limit and just the shows that they put on and the entry list they had. Um, so looking forward to um, really what they put on in 2024 as they kind of become a national touring series. So those are, I'd say, the three that I enjoy the most right now. Again, all different facets, but
Um,
I was gonna say a quick hitter before we do our chili preview. Instead of doing bucket list races and future plans, because I think we could save that for a future episode. I got a question for you guys. I don't think we ever really shared the background on the pit crew, like where that idea came from.
sure,
And then not only that, but I think we should spend 5 minutes just on the idea of the pit crew and then why we chose the pit crew, the pit crew roles that we do.
sure. So before we jump into that, I want to throw a quick follow-up question to you guys. Actually, Cam, you already answered this question with kind of like your background with this. I want to ask Helen this. how did you get into the dirt side? I know Cam said it was like kind of through that Hunt the Front YouTube channel. How did you kind of get to the dirt side? Just because I think it's all pretty well known that the dirt isn't exactly easily accessible as far as TV goes.
Yeah, I mean that was part of it, and then kind of the same with Cam is he'd always be like sending stuff about the Hunt the Front, and I kind of just like from there I got into it, but then you kind of find your lovely YouTube algorithms that don't seem to be really helping us out right now, but um no, I think with that like well you just kind of get a recommended video, you click on it, and you're like, oh, that dude just won $50,000. Then you click on that, and it takes you to another link. It takes you from the race from last year, and then you find out that Cedar Lake's been up here, and like you realize that they have that crown jewel, and it's like you kind of look into that, and that's why I just kind of branched off from that. So,
Sure.
um, just kind of going back to it from remembering what I saw as a little kid, and then just like revisit it, and you're like, oh, that's a hell of a product. So,
Sure.
yeah. So
And I would say too, off of that, once the algorithms get going, it's like then that springed into, I think World Outlaws does a great job putting their weekend recap. Any feature you want, you can go on YouTube and you can find a quick 6, 7 minute video and feel like you watched all 40 laps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all of a sudden you watch a Hunt the Front video that turns into they show up at a Volusia race, a World Outlaw race at the beginning of middle of February here, or middle of January. It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh. And then you start picking up on some of the bigger names. Brandon Shepherd was racing. You watch the race, and then it just snowballs. So
Sure. I think like for me, like, and we've talked about this before, flow racing. I think that has definitely helped as far as all right, there's a race on, let's watch it. I mean, you
yep.
could watch, like you were saying, you say a lot of times, Cam, flow racing is your cable TV. It's if you during the middle of the season, you turn that on, it's like, all right, what's on TV today? And it's literally just flow racing, what races are.
and like that for me, like again, like me and Kellen, like we are always texting each other. Like all of a sudden I'll be like earlier this summer, like I really didn't know that Angel Park in Sun Prairie was a dirt racetrack, and all of a sudden I
Yep.
flip on Flow Racing, and I'm like, holy shit, the All Star Circuit of Champions sprint cars are there, and on a Monday night. And I'm texting Kellen, all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're texting each other. We're picking heat race winners and we're picking, back and forth. And it's like all of a sudden you just learn stuff by going on Flow Racing and
Yeah.
seeing what's going on. So yeah. Um, but as we kind of wrap this conversation up, I was thinking we should give like a quick 2 minute synopsis on, when we thought of the podcast, where did Three Stones Pit Crew come from? And then we should all give just a quick background on why we chose the pit crew member that we did. So I don't know if somebody wants to give a quick 1 or 2 minute spiel on how the Three Stones pit crew name came about, and then we could all touch on kind of our roles and why we chose it.
Oh God. I mean, what rabbit hole do we want to go down?
Well, it all started with the Excel sheet that had about 40 different racing related names in that nothing sounded decent. Let's be honest. Not that this sounds any better, but we felt like, you start to string together racing related things and you're like, well, we started to put stuff together and it's like, I don't really like that. It was all right. It could be a backup if we don't find nothing. Just don't think about it. But when you don't think about it, you think about it all the time anyway. So
Yep.
nothing really ever came together, and you're like, I don't know, I don't really know. So we had this. It started as sliders and crossovers, and then it was what was the other one? There's one other one that I can't even
Yeah,
remember.
I don't remember what it was.
But and all of a sudden, there's one of us that he kept going to everybody, man, you just got stones for brains. And we're like, hold
Oh,
on a
how the
second.
saying even started.
Yeah, and we kept throwing that insult at each other then too.
And we just like what? Because then we started to hustle each other a little bit on the NASCAR fantasy thing. It's like, oh, stones for brains, huh? And it's like, Well, you each got one, and that's where the three came from. Um, and they're like, well, like, oh, sorry, yeah, you got the three stones, but it's like, all right, well, what racing related are we? It's like, what are we doing here? And it's like, well, shit, we're a pit crew. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of backstory. So the three stones comes from us giving each other crap. And as you guys have all listened, we're not the most intelligent human beings. We just love racing. So when we say we're the three stones pit crew, it's a joke between the three of us that we all got stones for brains, but we just love racing. So that's where the three stones came from. And then we were also like, we didn't want to limit ourselves to what kind of racing. Obviously, I said I love covering dirt late models. Our tire changer loves covering asphalt super late models, NASCAR. Really, any racetrack you go to, there's a pit crew.
Yep.
And so it's like, hey, we're not going to limit ourselves to one series, one type of racing. So, shit, we got stones for brains. Each one of us has got a stone brain. So there's three stones. And then anytime you show up to a racetrack, there's a pit crew. So we threw it together. Um, and I would say that's kind of how the Three Stones pit crew came about. And then obviously you throw in enter podcast. Um, and so that's kind of we would say our, that's our kind of brand. And then within the brand, we've got the Tuesday track talk. Um, and then we've obviously kind of thrown out some other ideas of, what we could spin off or, maybe in the future. Um, just different weekly segments, hopping on crew member hops on, there's a big dirt late models race. I'll hop on. Maybe I'm covering that specifically, just me. Van Grohl's got boots on the ground at Slinger Nationals. Kellen's at a weekend race in Madison or down in Davenport at a dirt race. So honestly, we just wanted to keep it open ended, um, and allow for us to just continue to grow this thing. And as new ideas come to mind, pursue them. And
Well, the best part about that is it gives you a chance to talk about your forte, you know,
Yeah.
gives you a chance to talk about the stuff that you feel the most confident and comfortable talking in, where it's like, if we sat down today and said, all right, the podcast, we're going to do another episode tomorrow, it's going to be IndyCar, I'd be like, yeah, all right, sounds good. I got nothing to contribute. You go ahead, have at her.
And I'm weird enough that I've got a vague idea on some of that stuff, but
Right. But that was the part of it where it just gave us the opportunity to, hey,
yeah.
you want to talk whatever you want to talk, that's your jam. So
so I want this would be a live reveal. I don't think we've ever discussed or gave a reason behind why we chose the pit crew member that we are. So obviously when we
So
introduce ourselves, I'm the gas man, Kellen's the jack man, Cam's the tire changer. I want to know why you guys, because we've never shared this with each other, why you chose jack man, why you chose tire changer.
well, to preface that, we ruled out crew chief because not one person's calling the shots. We,
correct.
we ruled that one out because
Nobody's smart enough to call the shots.
I wouldn't trust any of you suckers touching my race car. We
yeah,
established that when we were building our race teams.
yeah. For me, I mean,
I think it was kind of a scramble thing to put together.
Do you
Like
know
we
my
didn't
do
want
you
to
know
just
my
come
thought?
out.
Do you know what my thought is? I want I do not want to be the person that has the responsibility. I want I'm a simple
You
mind.
want the
I
easiest
want
job.
I want grab gas can, fill car up until gas spews out of the
he's he's the guy
so
that's in the group project that the team gets an A, but he put the period on the end of each
Yeah.
sentence.
I did not want to be the guy that cannot that is getting their hind end chewed because the car fell off of the jack mid stop, and then we got to get the whole crew over there to lift it up to get the tire on. You guys got a high pressure job. Me,
You're you're like an offensive lineman. You get no attention until you screw up on something.
yep, that's how we like it. Fly
Yeah.
under the radar.
I mean, I wanted to get in there and get a little bit of that pressure, but it wasn't the most pressured situation.
Yeah. Honestly, like if there's a pressure situation, I think I've got that position
Great.
covered.
Yeah, you
Yep.
got
Well,
the
it's like I was thinking about doing spotter, but like, well, spotter's not really on the pit crew. They're just, they're part of the team, but they're not on the pit crew. I'm like, so what the hell else left is there? So
and then it's like, well, a dirt super late model doesn't technically have a spotter. I mean, they've got the old stick guy.
yep, yep.
Um,
Which we've
but every
we've
dirt guy,
discussed were
every
questionable if any of us were to do that.
yeah, but every dirt pit crew's got somebody
Tire
who's
guy.
worked a tire guy. They've got somebody that's got gas. Um, a dirt's got somebody who, if they're at the hauler, they've got the electronic lift that they can press the button and jack her up. But even, you get in the hot sauce pit, yeah, what is it? The hot sauce pit,
Heartbeat hot sauce hot pit.
Yep.
heartbeat hot sauce pit. Look, dirt guys got to be on the
Sponsorship
game
available
too.
if
A lot of guys are blowing tires. They come in there. You got to
yeah.
jack it up and get a new tire, new front tire on it, new right rear, get them back on the track. So
Hell yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess
it's
that's
just it's
kind of put,
stuck.
Yeah,
yeah,
it just stuck. That's what it was. We kind of like, yeah, we'll just go with it. And if we got to rebrand, we can rebrand. Oh no,
Yep.
glue that baby was super glued to that thing. And it's like, yep, that's what it is.
we started doing
Thinking,
those couple trial runs, and we're like, when you start introducing yourself as the Three Stones pit crew, got gas man, jack man, tire changer. Like the first times is a couple choppy, but we just kept pounding
yeah,
it.
Keeping
And all
it.
of a sudden it's like, yeah, this is meant to be.
yeah.
And this is what we're going with.
And like I think we were kind of discussing too, like, and this was like way future, like if this thing takes off type of thing. It was like, how could we like brand like t-shirts and stuff like this and designs and like I think it'd be easier to do that. Like we could have, the cartoon figure bobblehead bullshit going on
Yep,
t-shirts too. And I could still be shooting shit here too. But I think like that it works. It just works for all of us, I think.
for sure. That'd be hilarious to get three little animated guys, one standing there holding the jack. He's got the big red gas can, and you just got the air impact, like three little
Yep.
characters. Yep,
Yep.
for sure.
Well, any other final thoughts on your background, the pit crew? Um,
No, that's fun. I I,
I
I
think
I
we
like.
learned a lot.
Yeah, we learned something new about each other. That's as crazy as it sounds.
Had a
and
bit
I,
of show and tell in there too, and I think that's
Yeah,
just again, it's just like we reminisced too
little
about some
nostalgia.
of the old days.
Yeah,
and I do think, we're going to touch on bucket list races and future plans. I think we could spend literally 2 hours on us talking about our bucket list races,
Yeah,
ideas we have for the channel, things we want to do. I think that would be a good, right before, the racing season officially kicks off, before the Daytona 500. That would be a good episode that we could throw in there.
yeah,
Um, just some of the bucket list races we have, and then, some of our future plans and what we kind of want to do and go from there. But we did have one race preview. We got a couple guys going for drillers here coming up soon. Got the 2024 Chili Bowl Nationals. So as we kind of look at a preview, I guess, kick it to one of you Stones. What is one headline you guys are looking at, or what's one thing you're looking forward to in the 2024 Chili Bowl Nationals?
I kind of want to start off with this just because I'm actually going to be on vacation that week, so I'm looking forward to vacation because I'm literally going to be sitting right here. I'm gonna be looking at this monitor, and I'm going to be watching racing all day. If they're on track, I'm probably going to be watching, including Saturday when they start at 9 in the morning. I'm gonna have this laptop's gonna be booted up. I'm gonna be laying in bed and I'm gonna be watching the heat rate or preliminary races starting on Saturday morning. But I think it's always, obviously we talked about, how many cars are in this 350 cars looking at the entry list from 1221. 350 cars, drivers entered in for this race. Obviously it brings in a lot of drivers for this, but I think it's also you know, who's going to have a bad preliminary night and who's going to end up having to play some alphabet soup when Saturday comes around.
And for me to kind of build on that point, you always have one guy that does it.
Yep.
You got one guy that buries himself and he just gets on a rail and he runs through the F main to the D main to the G main to the B main to the A main. Like,
And it's not even guys that you think of either, especially when you get deeper in, like the J's, the K's, and all that. It's guys that you wouldn't think that would do that, but end up, pulling that off.
and they just get hooked up and it's like, look out. And you're like, they get to the next lettered feature and you're like, oh man, they're starting at the tail. There's no way. It 3 to go. They're literally racing for a transfer spot.
Yep.
Like, oh my God.
I think the
So
other thing too is, you talk about like environments. The Chili Bowl is its own type of environment. I forget the name of the section there, but it's you probably know what I'm talking about. Like the guys that are tossing around popcorn at each other, or
that's on
marshmallows, and
yep, it's on the back stretch. What
yeah,
but I can't remember. That would be the cold snack section.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But
The
it's just
12 ounce cold snack section is
oh, I mean, so I got a section of it here. There's three names that jump out right away. David Gravel, a sprint car guy, he's going to be in it. Tyler Courtney, sprint car guy, he's going to be in it. CJ Leary, I mean, Christ, he runs anything that's dirt and open wheel, basically. He's going to be in it. I mean, it's literally a who's who as far as guys that are to be racing, too.
oh,
I
I
think the
mean, then
other,
you throw in, I was looking for some Wisconsin guys, but then you throw in some of the NASCAR guys that have thrown their names in it, or somebody from the NASCAR series. I think I saw Jesse Love,
yep,
just look, Josh Bilicki, Haley Deegan, Chase Briscoe.
Rowdy in there.
Um, what?
Rowdy, he put himself
no.
there. He did last year.
He did the Tulsa shootout last year.
I
Oh,
think he's running it.
JJ Yaley's in here.
I
yeah.
thought Bushwhacker's running it.
Here's a guy for you, Ricky Thornton Jr. He's running it.
Kyle Strickler, I just saw he's in it.
Ricky hasn't won a race all year, has he?
He's been close.
Close to 2 million.
But it's just, but then thinking about this too. Guys that you don't have in it: Rico, Larson, Bell. Those are three guys out of the gate that aren't in this race.
Brad Sweet.
Brad Sweet,
Yep. Yep.
Chase Elliott. He's ran at the bus a couple of years. He's not in it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just again, it's still either way. It is still a who's who as far as guys that are in it, and it's just that's what makes this race so special too.
Yeah. I mean, it's nonstop racing. Like it feels like 24 hours a day.
Yep.
Just fun. You always got somebody that runs the table. That's
Yep.
always that's to me that's the fun part is you get it, you can kind of see it and you're like, that dude might have it.
Yep.
And then they run through there. So yeah, pretty cool deal. Um that'll be uh that'll be an SE special edition for us. So we'll bring you guys a special edition episode for that one as well. So
Stay tuned. We're not sure when we're going to do it, but stay tuned for that one.
yeah, it'll be in the very near future, but just stay tuned on that. So
And I would
that's
say
it.
not only, oh, go ahead. Sorry,
No, go ahead.
interrupted.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say not only you just heard, Kel, I don't know your schedule, but obviously you just heard our tire changers got vacation that week. So if we're not going live, I can about guarantee you one thing: we're gonna be pumping out content. Um, Tire changer is gonna be just that phone's gonna be smoking.
I've
The
got
amount of
I've got the charger plugged in already, sitting next to me. So
that charger's gonna be sparking, phone smoking. Um,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
we'll definitely see if we can put together maybe a night of watching together again, like we did for the Dome and Snowball Derby. But if not, if we don't get one dialed in, we're going to be pumping out content. And that you can definitely be on the lookout. And that week is going to be a week that you have to have the bell turned on.
Big
Oh,
time.
absolutely.
Big time.
Keep an eye on the socials. I mean, we're going to be all over the place for that
Yep.
one.
You betcha.
Any final thoughts?
No, that was good. That's fun.
Oh, no, like I said, I think we learned a lot about each other. I hope, everybody that listens learns a lot about us as well. Um, if we ever run into you at the racetrack too, I'd love to chat with you, kind of learn where you're coming from and what got you into it. And I think that's a lot of racing as it is. It's just a lot of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that have happened over the years. It's just you want to keep those memories alive.
For sure.
And if we ever run into you at the racetrack and you've got a burning desire on your mind or your heart that you are like, why have they not talked about this, or what I want them to cover this, or you've got somebody you know that would want to come on and talk about this. Look, we've got some plans, but our plans can definitely change when we get new ideas. And
Yep.
again, we just jumped into this thing with a cannonball. So if we get an idea from somebody, we're full steam ahead. Um, just continue to give this thing our best crack. So yeah, we'd love to. You got a different area you want us to cover, a topic you want us to cover? We've been getting some feedback on, a racing 101 and lingo and structure and stuff like that. So that's going to be an episode we're going to cover. So if you ever got feedback for us?
Let her rip.
Yeah, we're all ears.
And don't forget about Spotify too. Throw a comment on there if you listen on there, or if you want to listen on the go.
Any other final thoughts?
Ready
Nope.
for the ready for Chili Bowl.
Yep. A week of racing 24 hours a day.
Well, we don't have any other final thoughts. Um, this is a really good episode. Hopefully you guys got to know the pit crew a little bit more. Um, understand our stories, where we came from, and why we're as passionate as we are, and why we're going to continue to be even more passionate in the future. Don't know if we can be more passionate, but we're going to try. Um, so yeah, again, we appreciate anybody that listens and follows along with us on this journey. You now know why we call ourselves the Three Stones Pit Crew. But don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, um, hit that bell. And then, as we start 2024 and you're looking for a New Year's resolution, I don't want to write down your resolutions for you, but make it a New Year's resolution to listen to the full episode every week and drop it a like and a comment.
I'll throw another
Yeah.
one out there for everybody too. Go to your local short track.
Yep.
So if you're looking for 2 New Year's resolutions,
We got you covered.
we got you covered. Number one is give the podcast a listen on whatever listening services or whatever
Wherever you get your content from.
wherever you get your content, Spotify or YouTube. Those are your two options. Wherever you get it. New Year's resolution is give the podcast a listen on a drive, at work. Throw a like and a comment in there. That's number one. Number two is get out to a local short track and support it. And hopefully you can start a new tradition for yourself or your family. Like we did the Cedar Lake trip this past year. Bang, went to that one time and we left that and we're like, we've got a new tradition. So
Yep.
get yourself to a local short track, get your butt in a seat and support them in any way you can. So with that being said, that wraps up episode number 15. Like, comment, subscribe, and do not forget to start the new year off strong with those New Year's resolutions we provided. We'll catch you next week.